Hi, Tiffany.
Hello, so glad to be here today.
I'm so stoked you're here. So for everyone, Tiffany and we're recent friends. We've met each other recently, but I just love her energy and I love her attitude, and she's so authentic, and we're so in alignment. Like she walks the talk, you know. And so I want to tell you a bit about her. As an accomplished author of several books, including the highly anticipated The Entrepreneur's Guide to More Free Time, which I think we all need, set to hit the shelves this year, Tiffany shares actionable insights to help entrepreneurs master referrals and networking, achieve remarkable success in their businesses, and reclaim their time to truly enjoy life. Her vibrant style, paired with her gift for turning ideas into Tiffany's, that's why we get along so well, because of the puns, uh, which are epiphanies inspired by Tiffany. It keeps audiences engaged and eager to take action. Tiffany's journey has taken her across the globe and the internet, working with thousands of entrepreneurs through keynote presentations, interactive workshops, and exclusive programs. Her unique ability to mix strategy with fun ensures that every interaction leaves her clients with tools and motivation to create real results while enjoying the process. And this is why we get along so well, because it's all about fun. Tiffany, I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so very much. It is a pleasure to get to join you today. We're going to have us some fun, right?
We're going to have us some fun. That's every speaker. I'm like, oh, I hope I can keep this to the half hour, because I just want to talk to you forever. This is cool. It's like having all my favorite people around, like learning from them too. It's great.
It's one of the things I love about doing summits, because I'm like, who are my folks that I want to bring in to share with the other people in my network? So I'm privileged to be here.
I'm so honored. We can go on all day.
We got other things to talk about.
We have other things to talk about. Mostly speaking success. So the folks who are watching, a lot of us are, we're earlier in our speaking career. So tell us a bit about how you got to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, if you would have told me early on, Tiffany, you're going to be a public speaker, I would have laughed, because I was petrified to speak in public. And it was in my adult life. I think I was 20, it was 2005. So I was 26. I'm 46, y'all. I don't care. It was 2005, and I went to my very first networking event. And they're like, you have to stand up and talk about you and your business for 60 seconds. And I'm like I wouldn't have gone to that event if they told me I was going to have to stand up and talk in public in front of 50 strangers. Like, I wouldn't have done it. I was petrified to speak in public. However, I saw this room full of people that could be good in helping me grow my promotional products business, which is what I had at the time. Right. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to deal with it and get involved to network, because before that I was cold calling, and I'm good at it, though I detest doing it. Ugh. Like I wouldn't phone call. I would knock on doors or open doors to grow my business.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, networking and referrals are there. And part of some of these organizations is you get the opportunity to speak for 30 or 60 seconds, or do that 5 to 10 minute presentation. And so I actually started speaking because I had to, as part of this group. And they're like, hey, Tiffany, you want to be president of our chapter? And I'm like, I've been here 6 months. I'm petrified to speak in public. I'm 26 years old. I have no clue what I'm doing. I look like I'm 18. Are you talking to a different Tiffany in this chapter? Because I thought I was the only one. And I was. But they're like, no. And I'm like, what better way to get over your fear of public speaking than volunteering to be president of the chapter that has to lead the meeting 52 weeks of the year?
That's a big commitment. Talk about leaning into what makes you nervous. Talk about like jumping in, right? Wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of my start. It wasn't I set out to be a speaker or any of that. I was just doing it to put myself in a position of high credibility with everybody that came through the door, whether they were members or visitors. They saw me. And so when the organization was like, hey, you want to help do some of the member training? I'm like, yeah, I'm still afraid in public speaking. I have no clue what I'm doing, but what better way than to learn? And there's maybe something to be said about the fact that in your mid-20s, you're more fearless than you are in your mid-40s. But I think it's always great to be fearless. But I just started training more and more. And I was using it in speaking as a way to grow my promotional products business. And so I originally started it marketing. One of my marketing avenues was speaking. It wasn't speaking to speak, to do keynote, to any of that. It was just speaking to promote my business.
Hmm.
And so I was doing that, and it was probably about mid 2008. My husband and I were sitting down having a beer at Chili's, I think, and we were talking, and I was spending about half of my time speaking, half of my time running the promotional products business. And we decided in this dinner that he was going to take running the promotional products business completely over. And I was
Hmm.
going to continue to feed the business by speaking, but I was going to spend more of my time doing speaking. So 2008 is when I, kind of retired from running the promotional products business mostly and went
Yeah.
full time. I am a speaker.
And I love that because there was so many, not only are there lots of different avenues into speaking, but there's so many different reasons to speak and ways to use speaking as part of your business. I love that at the beginning you used it just as positioning. Even if you never speak to sell, even if selling on stage terrifies you and you never end up doing it, just speaking to position yourself as an expert, to be seen, to be remembered, for people to be like, oh, her. I'll go to her when I need that thing. That is huge. It's
Yeah.
so big. We work so hard to be seen and to be remembered as business owners, and it's such an easy way to do it.
It is. It is. And back then, you would talk in person, like that was it. That this was preface. I feel old now. I'm like one of those old timers. Back in my day, there was no Facebook, there was no Zoom. We had to be in person. Now we can speak in so many different ways.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. There's so many different mediums, for sure. So many different ways to do it, and there is no right way. There's a right way for your business. There's a right way for your goals and for your personality. There is no some people will be like, oh, this is the perfect way to speak. No, it depends on who you are. It depends on what your business is, I think.
Yes. Yeah, and for those of you speakers out there, I've been talking all day. I've been talking all week, but apparently right now I'm going to have a coughing fit in the middle. So these are my Halls Mini sugar-free cough drops. So they're not as big and massive as some of the other ones, but when you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's something in my throat and I'm still talking. I have them nice and handy when I'm speaking in engagements. I usually have them on the podium or in my bag. I like them because they're tiny. So this was not paid for by Halls. I
We
just
gotta
found
have them
myself with a
sponsor it.
tool.
We gotta get Halls on the phone and be like, sponsored by. That was such a perfect. Oh, if only they had been sponsors, that would have been perfect.
And this is a good example. It's never going to be perfect. I know you and Shiraz
Yeah,
were kind of just talking about it's never going to be perfect. And I did not have to acknowledge that right now. I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. Somebody would have been like, what's she doing? But she put something in her mouth, no big deal. However, I love being transparent. And I'm like, as
yeah,
a speaker, stuff goes wrong sometimes. And so in my speaker's toolkit, I keep cough drops. Sometimes I'll
I
have
love that.
honey too, because I'll just
Yeah,
like a spoonful of honey before you speak will help coat the throat. But then don't drink water. They don't mix well. Do one or the other.
honey and water. Well, I mean, honey and tea is quite nice, but yeah,
Do
I know what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. I love that approach. I also, people are like, oh, what if I mess up? Then everyone will see. But this is the whole point. The more transparent you are, if you're transparent, you don't get found out. Like there's no imposter syndrome if you're being transparent because you are who you say you are and what's going on. One of my favorite coaches, one of his favorite sayings was embrace everything, deny nothing. And so if something is happening on stage, if you pretend it's not happening, it's going to distract the audience and they're going to be like, what just why is what's going on? And they're going to get distracted and they're going to forget about what you're talking about. But if you incorporate it seamlessly like you did, and I mean that's actually another way to make money speaking is if you're doing YouTube or something, you could be sponsored. And that's a way of making money. So hey, another revenue stream
Balls.
that
I
I'm
need
glad I'm
my
talking about.
at least my $2.97. Send me I mean, I don't need that many, but send me a couple boxes a year.
Well, yeah, I mean, they could pay for advertising and that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things. But, the more that we incorporate it in, the more fresh you feel, the more included the audience feels. There's something really magic about not being in denial about anything and just incorporating it all. And you don't need to make a big deal of it. It doesn't need to be distracting, but incorporating it, I think is I love what you just did. It's beautiful, beautiful example of how things don't go our way and we can make them gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you kind of started out as someone who was very shy and speaking to position yourself, what was the biggest struggle that you found? I mean, obviously, shyness and nerves are a big thing. Was it that, or was there something else that you found that really stopped you from getting to where you wanted to be?
So I think that because I took on these roles where I was doing like member training, so I had engagements every month that I had to go and do. Now, sometimes there would be 2 people, sometimes there would be 20 people. And so early on, there was a lot of practice for me, and there was that room full of people for me to practice on. I feel bad for them sometimes. However, hey, it's okay. And so it was just the opportunity that I think that I got that not everybody gets, is that continuous, ongoing repetition. And so I think that a lot of times speakers will struggle because they're like, I need to find the events to speak at. However, we need to work on being better speakers in the meantime. And so what I love nowadays is you can do things on Zoom. I know Kimberly Crow's coming on in a little bit, and they have like a whole playhouse where they can go like test out your speaking. There's amazing organizations like Toastmasters that help you really on practicing the speaking. And so I think that for me, the practice made a huge difference. And my learning curve would have been years, not as short as it was if I wasn't speaking as much. And so sometimes it can be the struggle of, okay, where do I go speak? Because we all want to speak more, but the more you can speak, the better you're going to get at speaking.
Yeah, finding a consistent way of doing it. Because I also find I get really anxious if there's too much pressure. If I haven't spoken for a while and then I have a speaking gig coming up, there's so much pressure. I'm like, this is the event. I have to do well. There's that like, oh, it's the only one. Whereas if I speak every week or every 2 weeks or a few times a week, then it's just something I do. And, I may not have a shower beforehand. And there's no
Luckily, if
smelling
we're
on
on
Zoom.
Zoom, we can't smell.
Zoom,
If you're in person, I do recommend a
oh,
shower.
no, no, in person, definitely. I work
I'm just
entirely
kidding.
online right now, so
Yeah.
uh, yeah, no, definitely in person. But it becomes something that you just do. And I think there's a level of confidence that comes from that consistency, that practice, just doing it over and over again. I love that you said that because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when there's only one, and then we want to get it perfect. If you do it all the time, it's iterative, and you're like, oh, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to play. This time I'm going to do, like, if I've got 3 speaking gigs this week, the first one I'm going to try this, the second one I'm going to try this, and you start to live with your talk like it's an organic thing as well, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I think that the more you get to know your content, and I think most of us know our content. It's just about formatting it in a way that makes sense that the audience can follow along with it. The more that we really get to be a master at our content, it gives us the opportunity to become a master at the delivery. Even something as
Yes.
simple as, y'all, I'm speaking with my hands up here, which is so weird because who talks with their hands at their head? However, I want to say on this hand to that
Yeah.
hand. And so if you're only thinking about your message, it's just the words. And that
Yeah.
can sometimes come off monotone or dry. Once you begin to get more comfortable with the content, I like to say, you can put the music in with the words. And so it's more than just here are the words coming out of my mouth. It's how are they coming out of my mouth? How am I using my body? How am I moving? And on Zoom, we're in a small little area, but I know plenty of speakers that have never spoke on a real stage. Now, that to me has to be super scary. If you've only ever done Zoom to go in front of a real stage, like I could see that being like palpitations. But I
Yeah.
also think it's about realizing what are our nerves. So I have a tendency when I start speaking to be super fast. I usually will calm down within 5 or 10 minutes. However, if I've only got a 20-minute spot, you don't need me speaking 250 words a minute. I am a fast talker. I have my little speedy teeny baby beanie baby from, yeah, you remember these? So this is Speedy. He usually stays on my microphone over here, but because today I'm like, I want to keep my energy even throughout. When I speak with international audiences, especially, I want to keep that
Yes.
energy not too crazy because I got a Southern accent. And when I speak very fast, it can be harder for people who English is not their second. Sorry. Look, y'all, I messed up again. Oh my, the world is ending. English is not their, if English isn't their first language, I might speak a little bit fast. So trying to slow it down is
Yeah.
one of the ways that I deal with that energy.
Mhm.
I like to walk and pace and practice my presentation before I get on stage. Some people like to listen to music. Some people meditate. I have way too much nervous energy for meditation. I mean, maybe it would work, I need to be up and
Yeah.
moving and going. And it's about figuring out what works for you. Is it you need to pump yourself up or pull yourself down? What works for you?
Yeah, and everyone is different, and
Yes.
that is so huge. And yeah, simple things like understanding like the technical part of your frame, understanding your medium, that's not going to come right at the beginning when all you need to do is survive. You know, there are different stages of growth, and at the beginning, you just want to get up there and not die, and that is success. I'm sorry, but that counts as success when you're at
Yeah.
that stage. That is huge. And then you're like, okay, I'm not dying now. Is there something that I can improve or like a result that I want to get? And eventually we get to the point where we're doing mastery. But it doesn't happen overnight. And knowing where you are is important too. You know,
Yeah.
giving yourself that grace.
And I was a member of the National Speakers Association local chapter here in the region for about 10 years. And so I met some speakers that were brand new or haven't even started speaking, and some that had been speaking for decades. And regardless of where they were at in the journey, the people that are successful in speaking are continuing to work on their skills, continuing to be better, even if they've already been speaking for 50 years.
Because you're a human being and there you have limitless potential. So
Yeah.
why would you ever stop? Why would you ever stop growing? You know, if you can. And there is that thing of like the better you get, the more you want to get better. And
Yeah.
so I saw an interview with Sir Ian McKellen, who's one of the greatest actors of all time, and it was recent. He was already in his 70s. This interview was maybe 5 years old,
Yeah.
and someone said, you know, what do you think makes you such a good actor? And he said, you know, I feel like over my career I've been practicing and practicing, and I'm just starting to understand what I'm doing.
And
Like,
he's like,
yeah,
and he's not even just an actor, he's like theater actor and all of that. If you like that, so David Tennant does a podcast. It's called David
oh yeah,
Tennant Does a Podcast, who is Doctor Who.
yeah. David Tennant's amazing.
He did a
Love him.
really great interview with Ian McKellen. Like it was a really I like his David Tennant's podcast series, period. I just like the way he does it, but he had a really great interview with him, and it was just like the art of it, the joy
Mm.
of it, and to still want to be doing it as long as possible.
And that is something that is so important. The joy of the mastery. If it's a slog, if it's a chore, you're never going to get there. You have to find the joy in it. And that actually makes me want to ask you, because I don't think I did ask, I meant to ask you, and I don't think I did ask you. Um, what's with the socks? Speaker and socks. Tell me about it. Tell me about I have a feeling it has something to do with joy. What's the whole speaker and socks thing? Tell
So,
me, Tiffanie.
so the short version without the whole backstory is when you see me on stage in person, I'm wearing, this is one of my speaker dresses. Not that you can see a lot of it because, you know, we're on Zoom. But so I've got on my normal speaker dress, and then I have on fun, funky, colorful socks and Converse. So when you see me, I love it, especially like when I do keynotes, because typically if I'm doing a keynote presentation for my main groups usually are like professional association, trades associations, and companies that have franchises. So they'll bring me in, but often before I do the keynote, I'll send videos. I'll write articles for their publication or their news release, just all kinds of things to have those touches before I get on stage. The beautiful thing is they don't have to see me on stage to know who I am, because I'm this gal in regular looking attire, but knee high, bright, colorful socks and Converse. And so, and it's not
Love
really
it.
a persona per se, because it really evolved naturally. Like there's a whole story of how it got to be here over like 5 years. But then a very trusted colleague, mentors, y'all, mentors make such a huge difference. He's like, your sock thing is so all over the place and amazing, and people remember it. Why aren't you doing that on stage? Because I was just wearing it with my boots or under my suits. You couldn't
Right.
see them. And so that was a switch, and it wasn't necessarily an easy switch. And sometimes I still feel weird. However, it's a branding thing. It fits.
Yeah.
I am a fun and quirky person, and you see that. I had somebody ask one
Yeah.
time, Tiffanie, what if, you know, the audience thinks this is a little too off the wall and, you know, they really want something more serious? I'm like, I will refer them to a more serious presenter, because if you want a serious presenter, I ain't it.
Yeah.
I will get you stuff. I will get you the business help you need. I will get you the results that you're looking for. but I am not plain. I am not boring. I am not even kill.
This is a soapbox that I stand on quite often. This idea that professional and boring have to
Ugh,
be synonyms. Like
no.
there is nothing saying, there is nothing in the definition of professional that says it has to be lifeless and boring and devoid of personality. There is nothing in that definition that says it has to be. But I have so many, especially younger speakers, well, not younger, like newer speakers, come to me and say, I don't want to be myself because what if I'm not professional enough? Are you good at what you do? Can you get results? You're professional. That's it. That's all you need. You
Yeah,
don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't need to take all the personality out of yourself. Let yourself be who you are. You can still be professional. Don't swear, maybe. Well, let
it
your
depends.
audience
It
know that
depends on your
if you're going
brand.
to swear, let them know you're going to do it.
Right.
Don't, you know, let them know that that's who you are if you're going to do that. There are some audiences that are cool with it, some that aren't. Know your audience. That's important.
Yes.
But you do not need to ever suppress who you are. In fact, the more you lean into it, the more memorable you're going to be. I love that so much, Tiffanie.
Yeah. And one thing I kind of want to add to this, because I'm in
Yeah,
agreement for sure.
yeah,
Though I think that there's something to be said. I laugh sometimes. I'm like, some people are like, I'm going to be unfiltered 100% of the time. You get me the way you get me. Do you act that way in front of your grandma?
respect is important too.
So to me, I 100% be you, be who you are, keeping in mind that you're not, on the couch with your buddies on Sunday watching football, or this is a professional setting. So do keep
Yeah,
in mind it's professional, and it's different for everybody. There are famous
yeah,
speakers out there that wear, what I wouldn't wear to the gym. They're just like casual, or they're a sailor or pirates with all their
yeah.
cursing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to pick what is your brand that works for you
Hmm.
and have those right people. Shiraz is talking about finding those people that are
Hmm.
the right fit for you. To me,
Hmm.
when you are here is who I authentically am,
Yeah,
you are inviting the people into your world that want that.
yeah.
And if you're
And
trying to polish it or make it glossy or be, that slick, slimy professional, people aren't going to be able to really get you. And it's those people that really get you that become your raving fans that want you. And when they
yeah,
want you, they're going to try and get you to speak in front of more audiences that they're in.
yes. I think being you, but being you with intention,
Yeah.
knowing your audience and thinking about them. So yeah, there's respect there. I want to be in service. I want to make sure that they're getting the best experience. And as long as we're not being selfish and we're not being like that self-conscious of like, well, I'll be whoever I am. As long as we're including our audience's needs, we're never going to go wrong. And I think it's about that context of what do they need? Maybe they need me to be in ripped jeans to feel safe because they're all in ripped jeans, whatever it is. But doing it intentionally and never just kind of going like, oh, whatever, I don't care. That's not respectful.
Right.
But going, I am going to consciously wear I'm going to consciously wear my socks to show people that I have a personality and that that you can be more comfortable on stage. That's I'm saying something with that. Like there's a reason I've got blue hair, people. Like we're being intentional with things, and it's part of our message.
Yeah.
We're not being disrespectful, we're not being dismissive of our audience. I think that's kind of what you were getting at, is like
Yeah.
that's what professional means. Professional
Yeah.
means understanding the needs of your audience.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love it, I love it. So speaking of, you really specialize in networking and helping people achieve success in their business. So can you tell us a bit about that? And because I think a lot of news speakers, that's where they're speaking. They're not necessarily up on stages yet. They're networking. They're doing that 5-minute speech at their BNI chapter. So tell us more about your speciality.
So to me, our goal is most people would love to grow their business by referral because of all the ways to grow your business. It's got that trust level built in. It's usually quicker and easier. And so referrals are key. And I do think they need to rename referral marketing to relationship marketing. So it is all about the relationships. And so if I'm out and about networking as a speaker, there's really kind of two types of people that I'm on the lookout for. One, I'm on the lookout for who are people that might be able to bring in speakers, whether it's to the corporation, to the school, to the chamber, whatever it may be. Who are the people that could bring in those speakers? I'm also looking to connect with other professionals that are selling to my ideal audience. Because what I find is if you can find a handful of the right people that you're all speaking to the same type audiences on a different topic, it makes it really easy for us to bring them in. Now,
Yes.
like I may have a book, y'all, shameless self-promotion, which totally
Do it.
works as a speaker. So I have a book. It's called Knock the Socks Off Your Audience. And it does talk about delivering presentations to one or to many. About a quarter of it is talking about your why, which I find so very important. And that's why I wrote this book. And I'll talk in a little bit that you don't have to have a book, but it can help. But it's not something that I actively teach on. So where I can connect with Danielle, and it's like, okay, if you want help on the speaking side, here you go. If we're looking at, hey, you want help on the mindset of being a speaker, okay, great. Shiraz can help you with that. Are you looking to connect with a lot of other people with speaking? You know, Kimberly Crow knows a lot of those people. She's coming up next, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I hope so.
it's one of those things that like all of these people here on this summit offer something different to speakers. And so it makes it easy to say, okay, I'm speaking at this session. Okay, when can I bring Danielle in? When can I bring the other people that have the same audience with a different message? And I'm very big on, you want me to talk about referrals or networking? You want to talk a little bit about fun branding? You want to talk about how to have more free time as an entrepreneur? I'll talk on those. Anything else just about? No.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was like, you can talk on leadership. I'm like, I can, but I don't want to. They're like, but you're a leader. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not me. There are others out there. And so as you're coming up and you're speaking, think about who else is speaking to the audience that you want and how do you make friends with them? Because if we're going to do a summit, like, why can't I have 3 or 4 of my friends at the summit speaking as well?
Yeah. And it's so much less intimidating. You know, it makes business so much easier when you have a community. You have people who you like, who you understand, you're aligned, because then you feel good referring them as well. Because my clients are precious to me, and I'm not just referring them to just anyone, you know, but I know these people, we have similar values or an alignment. I know they're going to treat them well. That's all really important. So I love that so much, Tiffany.
Yeah.
Just yes, yes, we are so vibing. So speaking of which, as you may have noticed, I have a 3-day event coming up in
Yes.
May, the 20th to the 22nd of May, Ignite True Speaking Confidence, where I will be working with speakers on their delivery and on their confidence and on just showing up and leaning into what makes them special. And if you come for the full 3 days, you get an extra special gift from every single one of these speakers here, including Tiffany. So, Tiffany, can you tell us what that speaking gift is?
So this gift doesn't deal as much with speaking. However, speakers need time. And so my gift to you is going to be time in the form of Escape from Email Hell. So I have a program that I've done, Escape from Email Hell. It is all about the opportunity to spend less time on your email, send less emails, all of it. And so this can sometimes open up an hour or two a day for entrepreneurs. And so it's time to go out there and do some of the other things. Now, can I have like 30 seconds for a Tiffany tangent?
Please, Tiffany
Okay.
Tangent, go
So,
ahead.
Tiffany, I am so cool that I have a name for my tangents. My people know them. They're Tiffany tangents. It means it's of value, but it ain't part of the conversation today.
Love it.
Speakers all the time get a book, write a book, write a book. And I love writing a book. My 4th one will be out in October. So I'm all about writing the books. However, maybe that's too big for you right now. My Escape from Email Hell is a webinar. Well, it was a live thing. Audience people there that I recorded 3 hours that then I had edited to put into smaller chunks that is now an on-demand program that I sell. Now, y'all that come will get this gifted, but it's something that I sell. So it didn't take the time, the hours, the energy, the effort, the money, all of that goes into a book. So I'm not saying don't write a book, write books, love books. And when it comes to creating a package or something that you're selling, like Shiraz was saying, hey, I was in the front of the room, ding, ding, ding. It doesn't have to be a fancy product. It could be a digital download that makes you 10, 20, 300, 500, $1,000, depending on what it is. Sometimes it's about how can I do this simply? Not just because everybody says I need it. To me, a book is a lot of energy. And I wrote this book in like 10 days. I mean, it took editing and stuff, so I can crank it out. But it's energy and effort. What is the easy thing for you to start building your product line, to start building your offering for people without taking a ton of time, energy, and effort? So that was my kind of, here's my gift and here's a little tip.
Yes, yes, and do it, because as I think everyone's been saying, you got to just get out and do it. And the easiest way to get out and do it is do the simple thing. I know everyone's like, eat the frog, and sure, if that helps you, but when it comes to something that's this scary and this important, do the small thing, do the easy thing, grab the lowest hanging fruit and build from there, because any momentum is momentum. Yes. Tiffanie, I love talking to you. We can talk all day, but we can't. So one final thing for our audience before we move on to our next amazing speaker, who is the fabulous Kimberly Crow. What is one last piece of just golden nugget for those out there who are starting their speaking careers?
I think that every entrepreneur, regardless of your profession, regardless if you're speaking to sell from the stage or if you're speaking to help grow your business that has nothing to do with speaking, have a coach always, forever. Not forever. I recommend that you always have a coach. Now, there is something to be said about finding the right coach for what you're looking to do. I've worked with vision coach, achievement coach, health coach, business coach, finance coach. Shiraz that was on earlier is my reality interventionist. I've worked with people that is, accountability. So find a coach. Anytime in my business or my life where I've plateaued is because I don't have a coach. But do find the right coach. I remember interviewing a speaker coach once, and he said, my first things I would recommend that you do, Tiffanie, is stop using ain't and y'all. And I'm like, this ain't going to work. I'm like, part of me is this is who I am. Yeah. Now, if you have an accent or you say things that most people don't understand or you're hard to understand, that's a very different conversation. For me, it's very much about being who you are. And I think we've hounded on that for the hour. Find the coaches that work, that help support you versus trying to mold you into what they think you need to be.
I love it so much. That is a beautiful final message. Thank you so much for being here, Tiffanie.
Thank you so very much.
Everyone, please stay tuned. We have more amazing speakers coming. Thank you so much, Tiffanie. Do sign up for my 3-day to get her amazing gift. If you come for the full, you don't get it automatically. If you come to the full 3 days of my Ignite True Speaking Confidence, you will get Tiffany's amazing gift. So do sign up in the link in the chat.